Did you get some of that good Snoop weed?
I've smoked with Unc before, yeah.
Yeah, but you don't know till it's at your front door. I always say the front row at the funeral is different. You know, when you have to sit on, like, you know, I've been at a lot of funerals. I've never sat front row at one. That's different.
What does that do to you?
Shift your perspective on life, you know what I mean? Make you see not only that is life short, but that it's a gift. You know, and because everyone's time is so different.
That was Lauren straight up admitting she was tight with Snoop. At first, everyone brushed it off as a regular friendship, but now, boom, new footage of Snoop and Lauren together has people talking wild. Fans are saying it's proof there was more going on behind the scenes, maybe even that she had a hand in setting him up.
That disrespect, bro, you better smash. Ain't nobody disrespected, bro.
Let's break it down. Snoop Dogg and Lauren London side by side. That alone was enough to send the whole hip-hop scene into chaos. This ain't just Snoop grinning for the cameras or dropping one of his chill Uncle Snoop moments. Nah, this clip shows him standing next to Lauren London, Nipsey Hussle's longtime love, right in the aftermath of his tragic murder. Now you gotta understand, Lauren wasn't just another person mourning Nipsey. She was Nipsey's circle. From her heartbreaking tribute at the Staples Center to that powerful speech at the BET Awards, she became the voice, the symbol, the heart of Nipsey's loss. Anyone seen beside her wasn't just with Lauren. They were standing beside everything Nipsey built. After Nipsey's death, Lauren became more than the grieving partner. She became the public face of his legacy. The way she spoke about him made her the living heartbeat of his story. Brands put her front and center in campaigns honoring Nipsey. Award shows handed her the mic for emotional tributes. Documentaries leaned on her words to carry his message. She was everywhere. Not because she chased fame, but because the culture demanded it. People needed to see her, to hear her, to feel connected to Nipsey through her. That spotlight turned her into something bigger, a chess piece in a game where every move meant something. Standing beside Lauren wasn't just about showing love, it was about aligning yourself with Nipsey's empire. That's exactly why this new clip hit so hard.
Basically was like, you rocking with him? Like, you rocking with him? I'm rocking with my brother.
Snoop's presence next to Lauren didn't look random, it looked strategic. In a world where Nipsey's legacy was already under heavy debate, Snoop being in that frame sent shockwaves. Some saw it as a show of unity, others thought it looked calculated, like a move made with purpose. But to really get why people lost their minds over this, you gotta rewind to when Nipsey was taken from the world. When those shots rang out in front of the Marathon store, Los Angeles didn't just lose a rapper, it lost a leader, a visionary, a man who lifted his block while staying true to it. Nipsey wasn't just building music, he was building community. And now every image connected to his name carries weight. And Snoop standing next to Lauren, that hit different. When a man grows bigger than his block, things never stay peaceful. Love gets shadowed by jealousy, and loyalty starts walking hand in hand with betrayal. Right after Nipsey's death, his brother Black Sam stepped up as the protector. He wasn't just mourning, he was defending.
All the big homies in the set was jealous of Nip, because all the younger Nip. Nip got bigger than the program, so Nip got clipped.
Sam made it loud and clear that Nipsey's empire would stay in family hands, and anyone who tried to play with his brother's name would face real consequences. Those weren't just emotional words, they were a straight-up warning shot. Sam knew the vultures would start circling. He knew opportunists would come sniffing around, ready to profit off Nipsey's legacy. But Sam wasn't letting that happen, not on his watch. The problem, though, was that Nipsey's empire wasn't just built on paperwork or business deals, it was built on trust, loyalty, and real relationships. And that's where things got messy, real messy, because relationships can break, especially when fame and tragedy collide. Even within Nipsey's closest circle, cracks started showing. Brick Baby came out and admitted he clashed with Black Sam after Nipsey's passing, and it all came down to loyalty. He said, "I'm rocking with my brother." That line alone showed how deep the tension ran. See, that's what Nipsey's loss did. It forced everyone to pick a side. Suddenly, grief wasn't just sadness, it became suspicion. People started questioning motives, loyalty, and intentions. Then out of nowhere, Charleston White dropped a bombshell. He claimed what nobody else wanted to say out loud, that Nipsey wasn't just taken out by one man, but by the jealousy within his own set. Now think about that for a second. If that's true, if Nipsey's rise made people close to him turn against him, then his empire wasn't just under attack from outsiders. It was being torn apart from the inside. That hits hard because it means success came with a price no one saw coming. And just when the family was fighting to keep control, the industry started circling too. While the streets dealt with betrayal, the labels saw nothing but opportunity. Nipsey had figured out the game. He owned his masters, his brand, his block. Independence was his crown jewel, and in an industry built on control and exploitation, that made Nipsey a real threat. From his prison cell, Suge Knight dropped a claim that shook the streets. He said Puffy was the one who threw Nipsey's whole circle off balance by bringing harder drugs into the mix. This wasn't just some wild party life. It was about weakening a movement from the inside. That hit different, because if true, it meant the downfall started way before the tragedy even happened. But Suge didn't stop there. He went straight for Snoop. He claimed Snoop was moving in the shadows, trying to bail out Keef D, the same man tied to Tupac's murder. Because, in Suge's words, Keef was talking too much.
Puffy the one got these dudes on hardcore drugs. He was introducing these guys to different type of level of drugs.
That accusation lit up the hip-hop world like wildfire. And just weeks after Nipsey's murder, the tension in Los Angeles was unreal. The Marathon store turned into both sacred ground and contested territory. It wasn't just a memorial, it was the heart of a battle over who really represented Nipsey, who had the right to speak for him, who was keeping his name alive, and who was just using it for attention. Every mural, every post, every shout-out turned into a war zone online. People started pointing fingers left and right. Longtime affiliates were accused of cashing in on Nipsey's name. Someone would take a photo by a mural and instantly get slammed for chasing clout. Another person would claim they were like family and get called a fraud. It was chaos, pure emotional chaos. But that chaos didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was the fallout of a legend's death, leaving behind a massive power vacuum. When you put all those pieces together, you can see why fans and insiders were fired up. They weren't just watching drama unfold, they were watching Nipsey's legacy being fought over in real time. People expected Lauren London to understand that her role wasn't only about grieving, it was about carrying the entire weight of Nipsey's empire on her back. She became his torchbearer. So when Snoop started showing up beside her, it didn't look innocent to some. It looked strategic. The talk on the streets was that Snoop was getting too close, maybe even trying to grab that torch for himself. Folks said Snoop wanted something from Nipsey's legacy, and based on his history, he'd do whatever it took to get it. Whether that's truth or just talk, almost doesn't matter anymore, because perception became reality, and the perception was loud and clear. Snoop Dogg wasn't just mourning, he was positioning. Nipsey's death wasn't seen as just a personal loss. It became a political moment in West Coast hip-hop. By standing next to Lauren, Snoop gained proximity to Nipsey's memory. With that proximity came credibility, and with credibility came power. To some, it looked like a natural passing of the torch, but to others, it looked straight up predatory. Either way, the outcome stayed the same. That footage became more than just a viral clip. It turned into a symbol of the war for Nipsey's throne. And make no mistake, there was a throne. If you take what Suge said seriously, then you'd understand Nipsey wasn't just taken down by one gunman. He was weakened, destabilized, and left wide open by forces way bigger than the block.
Look, I don't have nothing to do with none of that, and I'm not leaving prison to go to nobody county jail. To the point they were saying, well, you can't leave and sacrifice a little bit in the county jail to stop that black man from getting life? Hell the no.
And who did Suge accuse of playing both sides? None other than Snoop Dogg. That's exactly why the footage of Snoop and Lauren hit like a bomb. It wasn't about what they were doing in the clip, it was about what it meant. To Nipsey's family, it looked like outsiders stepping into sacred territory. To the streets, it looked like power slipping away from the community and straight into industry hands. To fans, it looked like proof of every rumor and suspicion that's been floating around since 2019. And honestly, can you blame people for being suspicious? Everyone knows Snoop's story. His name always finds its way into the middle of hip-hop's darkest moments. His history is tangled with loyalty, betrayal, and timing that always seems too perfect. Take Tupac Shakur, for example, the legend, the voice, the fire of a generation. When Pac was murdered in Las Vegas back in '96, the world lost more than a rapper. It lost a revolutionary. Since that night, the story of Tupac's death has been told and twisted in every possible way, but one thing never changes. People keep pointing fingers at those closest to him, and somehow, Snoop's name always comes up. Why? Because when Tupac was alive, Snoop was his so-called brother in arms. They made music together, toured together, and stood side by side like family. But behind the scenes, it wasn't all love. While Pac was calling out enemies, Snoop was cozying up with them. For example, Big Dre, the same guy allegedly in the car with Keith D the night Pac got hit, ended up working with Snoop after Pac's death. That shocked everyone. You'd think anyone loyal to Pac would have kept their distance from anyone connected to that tragedy, but not Snoop. He jumped right into a collab with Big Dre on a mixtape, raising serious eyebrows across the West Coast. Back in '96, after Tupac's death, Snoop was in a weird spot. Their relationship had already been strained before Pac died. They weren't exactly seeing eye to eye. But once Pac was gone, Snoop suddenly became one of his loudest mourners. He aligned himself with Pac's tragedy, and in doing so, reshaped his image completely. To the public, it looked like Snoop was honoring a fallen brother, but to the streets, it looked like another strategic move. And that's the same reason this new footage with Lauren London hits so deep. Because every time Snoop shows up in moments tied to legends, people can't help but wonder, is it love or is it positioning? Let that sink in for a second. Your brother gets murdered, the suspects are still out there in plain sight, and instead of cutting them off, you start recording tracks with them? That's not loyalty, that's betrayal. And Snoop's betrayal of Pac didn't just happen once, it became a pattern. He's been caught time and time again stretching stories about Pac, twisting the truth when it suits him, and sometimes straight up fabricating whole moments that never happened. Take this one. Snoop once claimed that Tupac was the one who introduced him to blunts. Sounds smooth, right? Like a piece of hip-hop history. But the timeline doesn't add up at all. Even Cameron Diaz said she used to buy weed from Snoop back in high school. So how could Tupac be the one who introduced him to that life when Snoop had already been living it for years? Come on, the story sounds cool, but the facts don't lie. So why make that up? Why create a fake bond with Tupac after the fact? The answer's simple, image and legacy. Snoop knows the public loves seeing him as part of Pac's inner circle, so he rewrites history to make sure his name stays tied to Pac's forever. It's not about truth, it's about how the story looks. Even people from Tupac's own crew have called Snoop out. Napoleon from the Outlaws straight up said, that's a false narrative.
That night, when you look at it, Dad said that, hey, we wasn't going. Snoop was on, death row, basically Tupac and everything above, and something gonna happen.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Warren G says that Snoop was at his house watching the fight, and he had the walkie-talkie, the radio.
Pac wasn't disliked in prison. He was respected. Snoop just made that up. That's not just rumor. That's someone who was right there living it. And it doesn't stop there. Snoop even dragged Nas into his web of stories. He once told a tale about Tupac confronting Nas at the 1996 VMAs, saying Nas rolled up with 100 shooters. And that Pac was wilding out. But according to Napoleon, who was actually there, that confrontation never went down like that. In truth, Pac and Nas handled it like grown men. They talked, cleared the air, and kept it peaceful. Even Nas himself said Snoop's version was straight up false. See the pattern? Every time someone legendary passes, Snoop jumps in and starts shaping the story. He paints himself as their brother, their ally, their ride or die. But the reality is, when those people were alive, his actions didn't always match the love he claims now. It's rewriting history in real time, and fans are starting to catch on. Now, let's talk Biggie. After Pac's death, Snoop suddenly started painting himself as close to Biggie, too. He told stories about deep conversations, moments of peace, and how they supposedly had mutual respect. Sounds touching. But according to Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, that's just more media spin. Gene questioned the whole thing, saying, if Snoop and Biggie were really that close, how come they never hung out when Biggie was in LA? And here's the kicker. Snoop even claimed he saw Biggie in Atlanta after Pac's death. But if you check the timeline, that makes no sense. Biggie was gone not long after Pac, and the details just don't line up.
But yet and still, Big came out to California, and you don't see not one picture of him and Snoop together. You don't see not one place where they smoked a blunt together. Both of them like to smoke. We was in the studio with Bone Thugs and Harmony. Snoop never came over there. So you tell me, was they really that cool, or it was just a facade that was put up?
Once again, the story sounds good on camera, but it doesn't match reality. So when you trace that pattern from Tupac to Biggie and now to Nipsey Hussle, you start to see what's really going on. Snoop steps in, gets close to the story, then rewrites it to make himself part of the legend. Whether it's loyalty, grief, or strategy, one thing's clear. Snoop always knows how to keep himself at the center of the narrative. And that's exactly why people are watching his every move around Nipsey's legacy so closely. Nipsey dies. Snoop cries. He calls him my dear brother and our inspiration, then drops a tribute record that tugs on every heartstring. He tells the world Nipsey was the new Snoop, and fans, deep in their grief, soak it all up. But when you start looking closer, those cracks begin to show. Because yes, Snoop warned Nipsey about the dangers of the streets, but he was also spotted hanging out with Big U, the same man Nipsey had warned others to stay away from. See, Nipsey didn't keep quiet about his issues with Big U. He even had a diss track aimed directly at him, making it clear he refused to be controlled or extorted. Everyone in the streets knew Big U had been pressing Nipsey, forcing him to pay so-called protection fees. And when Nipsey finally stopped paying, not long after, he was gone. That's why people raised their eyebrows when Snoop started showing up around Big U, acting like everything was cool. So once again, history repeats itself. Just like with Tupac, just like with Biggie, when the legend is alive, Snoop seems to stand beside their enemies. But when they're gone, he steps to the front, reshaping the story and casting himself as the loyal, grieving brother.
Look, man, I just want to send prayers out to Nipsey Hussle and his family, to Lauren London and her family. What's up, man?
That's why so many fans say Nipsey's death can't be brushed off as some random act of violence. Eric Holder might have pulled the trigger, but he didn't design the plan. There were bigger forces at play, hidden hands with real money, influence, and something to lose if Nipsey kept rising. And now, with new leaks coming out, it's starting to look like Snoop might be confirming what the streets have whispered for years, that maybe Lauren London wasn't just caught in the crossfire. Maybe she was closer to the center than anyone realized. Toward the end of his life, Nipsey began distancing himself from industry events, avoiding certain circles, refusing to check in, and cutting ties with people who tried to keep him under control. He wanted independence, real freedom. But what if the person standing next to him was connected to those same forces he was trying to escape? That thought alone sends chills through the community. If Nipsey had realized that one of his closest friends might have had ties to the people working against him, maybe, just maybe, things would have turned out differently. And if there's one thing Snoop has proven over and over again, it's that he always knows how to survive chaos. No matter what storms hit the culture, Snoop finds a way to come out untouched, smiling for the cameras and rewriting his place in history. That's why people say the ripple effect of Nipsey's death didn't just end in Los Angeles, it spread everywhere. When Nipsey Hussle was murdered on March 31st, 2019, it wasn't just another sad headline. It was an earthquake that shattered millions of hearts. The shockwaves tore through music, culture, and communities worldwide. For so many, Nipsey wasn't just a rapper they played on the way to work. He was a living symbol of hope. He proved that you could rise from the bottom, stay loyal to your roots, and build an empire without selling your soul to the system. That's why people can't stop asking questions. Because if someone like Nipsey, who stood for ownership, unity, and empowerment, could be taken out while surrounded by friends, then maybe those friends weren't really standing next to him at all. Fans didn't just love Nipsey for his music. They loved him because he lived every word he spoke. He wasn't out here rapping about ownership just for clout. He actually owned his masters. He didn't just talk about giving back to his hood. He built real businesses in Crenshaw and gave jobs to people the world had already written off. And when he rapped about loyalty, it wasn't a gimmick. He proved it by staying in his community, even when fame and money gave him every reason to walk away. So when the heartbreaking news broke that Nipsey Hussle had been shot and killed right in front of his own Marathon store, a place that had become the symbol of his dream, the reaction was instant, raw, and emotional. Los Angeles erupted in grief. Crowds flooded Crenshaw, packing the streets around the marathon, leaving flowers, candles, love letters, and murals that stretched across blocks. People cried in public, hugging total strangers because it didn't feel like a celebrity had died. It felt like family was gone. Nipsey wasn't just the voice of South Central, his message reached the entire world. Within days, murals started popping up everywhere, not just in LA, but in Houston, Chicago, New York, and even overseas. From London to Lagos, people were spray painting his face on walls and writing one powerful phrase: "The marathon continues." It became more than a slogan. It was a global movement. Social media exploded with tributes, posts, and emotional videos from fans, artists, and even people who had never met him but felt his energy. For weeks, it was like the whole culture hit pause. Everyone stopped to grieve, to honor, and to reflect on what Nipsey really meant. Fans weren't just mourning the man, they were mourning the mission.
It's crazy how the streets don't love it, but we still be loving.
Nipsey had shown that you didn't need to bow to the industry's tricks or sell your soul for a hit record. He was living proof that you could build something real, something lasting, while keeping your integrity intact. He was the blueprint for doing it right, owning your art, uplifting your people, and keeping your dignity no matter how high you climbed. That's why his death hit so hard. It wasn't just about losing an artist, it was about losing a symbol of hope. People looked at Nipsey and saw a reflection of what was possible, a self-made king who refused to compromise. So when he was taken out, fans were left asking a painful question. If someone like Nipsey, someone who built businesses, empowered his neighborhood, and stayed true to himself could be killed like this, then what hope was left for everyone else trying to rise the right way? Nipsey's death didn't just devastate his fans. It broke the hearts of the very artists who grew up watching him. To younger rappers, he wasn't just another name in the game. He was a mentor, a big brother, a real example of how to move through the industry without losing your soul. His loss left a hole that no one has been able to fill, because Nipsey wasn't just rapping, he was leading. Roddy Ricch has never been shy about giving Nipsey his flowers. He said over and over that Nipsey's belief in him changed everything. Nipsey gave him game, co-signed his talent, and pushed him to think bigger, to believe he could really break into the mainstream. So when Nipsey was gone, Roddy didn't just lose a collaborator, he lost a mentor, a guiding light, a brother who showed him what real independence looked like. YG, one of Nipsey's closest collaborators, was hit just as hard. When he broke down in public after Nipsey's murder, the pain was real. He admitted he didn't just lose a partner, he lost family. Their joint track, Last Time That I Checked, had already become an anthem, blasting through car speakers and street corners across the West. But beyond the music, their bond ran deeper. They were two men determined to flip the streets they came from into something better. YG said Nipsey opened his eyes, made him think bigger than just charts and fame. He pushed YG to build something lasting, something powerful. So when Nipsey was gone, YG confessed it felt like part of his own vision had died too. That's how much Nipsey meant to the people around him. He wasn't just inspiring fans, he was reshaping the way his peers thought about legacy. Even the heavyweights, Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z, made sure the world knew how deep Nipsey's impact really was. Kendrick, known for his own thoughtful lyricism, praised Nipsey as someone who represented the true heart of Los Angeles, gritty, independent, and visionary. Jay-Z went even further, quietly setting up a trust fund for Nipsey's children, Imani and Cross, making sure that the empire Nipsey started would live on through his kids. That single act said everything. It showed that Nipsey wasn't just respected, he was revered at the highest levels of hip-hop. And Nipsey's influence didn't stop at music. His reach stretched into sports, film, and even politics. LeBron James called him an inspiration. Barack Obama himself sent a personal letter to Nipsey's memorial, praising him for his dedication to uplifting his community. That's how powerful Nipsey's presence was. He wasn't just a rapper, he was a movement, a leader who could unite people across race, class, and culture. But here's what makes it all even more heartbreaking. Nipsey was only just getting started. His debut studio album, Victory Lap, had finally earned him a Grammy nomination and proved that he could win on his own terms without bending to the industry. It wasn't just an album, it was a statement that independence and excellence could exist side by side. And behind the scenes, Nipsey was building something even bigger. He wasn't out buying mansions in Beverly Hills. He was buying back the very blocks he grew up on in South Central. He was creating a real estate empire with a mission to turn those same streets that once held him back into safe havens for the next generation. Nipsey was investing in tech startups, supporting STEM education for kids in the hood, and building opportunities that would outlive any record deal or chart hit. He wasn't just chasing money, he was planting seeds for the future. That's why losing him hit the world so deeply, because Nipsey wasn't just a star on the rise, he was a force for change, and everyone knew the best chapters of his story were still being written. Nipsey always said he wanted to be more than just a rapper. He wanted to be a mogul, a real boss who could flip the power structure in hip-hop, taking control away from the corporations and putting it right back into the hands of the artists. He dreamed of a world where rappers owned their work, their image, and their future. And what made Nipsey special was that he didn't just talk about it, he did it. And that's why fans are still angry today. Angry at the idea that people who should have been protecting Nipsey might have been the same ones leaving the door open for his enemies. Angry at the thought that big names with huge influence, like Diddy, might have had more control in the background than anyone realized. Thank you for watching. If this story hit you, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment with your thoughts. Let's keep the conversation going because the marathon continues.